Hello, it's my pleasure to have one more guest here, Walter Legowski.
Hello.
Hello, it's so nice to have you here because I think a lot of people out there will find pleasure. See you one more time. You're one of those persons, from my perspective, that are really embraced by the community. If we tell people Walter will be on the conference, they think, that's a great guy, I've got to watch his session. What is your opinion about the conference and the people here?
First of all, I have to thank you for that, because for me it's super intimidating or to be seen like this. But yeah, for me, PowerShell has given me so much that if you say, hey JD, you want to come? I will come, because the emulation that you get here is something that you take back home, and that gives you the energy for at least that's how I work, for some time afterward. And if I can contribute to giving a bit back of that to the attendees, then it's a win-win, so I'm always ready.
You also, without using words, you also tell a little bit about where you come from, where you just have to look at your t-shirt. You're working for, what's the correct name of the company, Specterops?
So the company is called Specterops, and I mostly work as a, let's say, Bloodhound evangelist or something, trying to help the customers get the most out of Bloodhound.
Yeah,
So,
and definitely one of the most interesting parts of the industry, because everything that is labeled with security, we know you can get a good wage and stuff like that. People have a lot of respect for consultants that really know their stuff. And you're heavily working on and working with Bloodhound, right? Is that correct?
yeah, so for a couple of, 6-7 years now, since Bloodhound came out, basically I fell in love with the tool. And because I'm a PowerShell fanboy, I started writing a PowerShell module to work with Bloodhound. That kind of shaped a bit my career over the last years. And now I'm working for Specterops and Bloodhound. And I also have a new module that I presented for the conference. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of Bloodhound and PowerShell connections. And,
What's the name of the new module?
it's called the Bloodhound Operator. So I presented that. It's on GitHub.
Can you give a glimpse of what it does? So some advertisement why someone wants to look at it. I'm pretty sure it's a good idea.
Bloodhound itself is a UI application, and there's a lot of clicking around, and you can ask anything for attack paths, for metrics, but I'm a PowerShell guy, right? So I wanted to be able to have those objects, and the new Bloodhound has a full REST API, so you can really tap into all the endpoints, all the application functionalities via the command line. And that's a super nice way to connect it to other tools, right? Or to push the data somewhere else, or to bring in other data sources. So it's really a command line tool for the whole Bloodhound experience.
If someone listens to us and has no clue what is Bloodhound, the name is telling. It's a pen testing tool, security checking tool.
Yeah.
Can you describe a little bit what is the pitch, what's the primary?
So Bloodhound started as a red team, so offensive tool. And basically you collect all the objects and the relationship between the objects. The easiest example is a user is a member of a group, and a group has maybe admin rights over a computer. So that starts to create an attack path. And on this computer, maybe another user is logged on. And because you're admin to that computer, you can get the credential from that user and move on. And then on top of this, add all the ACLs and everything that is an abusable relationship in Active Directory or in Azure now. We map it, so you get a nice map of AD like you've never seen it. And I can go from that regular user to domain admin via this. And so that's the tool. And it gives you a vision that is hard to get in AD itself, is those traversal, the path, what we call the attack path. So it's a great tool to visualize abusable relationship in your environment.
It creates a map, and you can immediately see here we've got a couple of problems solved, right?
Usually the first time people run Bloodhound in their environment is a kind of a revealing moment. And then you put your sleeves up and you start remediating, cutting up some branches of the tree, and making sure your tier 0 is tight and accessible from the regular user would be the first goal with Bloodhound, basically.
The funny thing with all these tools these days is almost everything in that environment is open source.
Yeah.
More or less, in many cases, everything is open source. And that makes it undefeatable, right? You can take the company down, but then someone else makes some minor changes, compiles the code again. So you really are forced to fix the problem.
We're in a race, right? With it's a debate in the industry. Do we do more good than bad by making this public? My opinion is yes, because you raise awareness. That's what Bloodhound is, to give you awareness of what your domain is with, and then start fixing stuff. So of course you empower the attacker to use that tool against you, but you also empower defenders to have the vision of how an attacker sees your landscape and how he moves around it. And without that knowledge, you cannot defend. So yeah, security is always this race with offense, trying to catch up, and a new technique comes out and find a way to defend it. So yeah, it is accelerating, but I don't think there's another option. Basically, ignorance is not an option. So
yeah, indeed. So you're one of the guys who travel a lot, sometimes digitally, sometimes in person, all over Europe. The company is based in the United States. We will talk about the people who made that, who created the company a little bit later. But one thing first, from your accents, it seems that you're from France, right? There are more people from France, very, very, very prominent people, celebrities in the security space. Can you tell a little bit about the superstars and why are they all French?
So no, we have this one massive superstar that is Benjamin Delpy, the author of Mimikatz. So that's an infamous tool, but that also somehow brought a lot of awareness of how you can read credentials from memory, and it's actively being used by a lot of people. So he's our main, I would say he's the main French celebrity.
The main celebrity, right? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Have you ever met him before?
Yeah, he's great.
Can you tell a little bit about, because there's so many rumors, I don't want to talk about Benjamin, but now that I have a chance for someone who met him, there are so many rumors about this guy. Can you give us a glimpse of what he's doing?
He's a character. I really like his approach, and he's a big fan of Nutella, I can tell you, and crepes, and anything about dropping credentials. He does a lot with RFID. I think he's just a creative person, and when he does something, he likes to go all the way. So Mimikatz was a big. I met him a couple of times, and yeah, he's really. There's a few characters in the industry, and he's clearly one of them.
Now, Legowski seems not to be the typical French name that has any meaning, but I guess I know that that's actually not your real name, because the people in the security environment, they need to hide themselves, right?
No, I don't think it was a need, but it came out. I like to keep my privacy, or at least as much as possible, private. So the first conference I spoke to, I gave a fake name, which was my Twitter handle also. So SAT processor Walter Legowski. And since it kind of stuck, and since now people kind of know me by that name, it's too late to change. So I'm keeping it, and I'm quite happy with it.
Yeah, you're an artist.
Creates a bit of confusion. So why not? Why not? But yeah, it's not my real name. So
yeah, we had going back to last year's and the years before conferences, we had a couple of people from Specterops, the founders. Could you drop a few names who did that? People that might know from former conferences?
If you've been in the PowerShell community for like 6 or 7 years, you probably heard of Harmjoy, so Will Schroeder, which was one of the creators for the PowerShell empire. So I think it has inspired me and a lot of other researchers to kind of dig into the offensive capabilities of PowerShell. And it also, I think, inspired Microsoft to raise the bar in PowerShell in terms of visibility and controls. So that's been and he's one of the founder of the company I work for. But I could also name Matt Graeber, who was a big influence back in the days also on the security PowerShell side. Jarrett Atkinson also doing Invoke-WhateverYouLike.
Familiar names.
Yes, they've all spoken at the PowerShell conference in the past, and I think they're still very influent people in the community. So whatever Harmjoy puts out, usually you should read and understand. Like the latest one with the ADCS white paper. So all the attack around the services and the PKI infrastructure in the environment, and that's being widely used nowadays by red team and I guess by real attackers. So we're learning to defend against that. And that's again putting out the offensive to raise awareness on the defensive side and kind of raise the bar for the attacker. So again, we're playing that game. But this is really, at the moment, really in fashion, let's say.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that something that comes from capture the flag, red team, blue team, something from the games industry is now a proper name for the guys in the suits, right? And charging a lot of money.
Well, I guess somehow it is a game, a very serious game. But it is a game of trying to figure out, trying to think or outthink the adversary or think like them or see stuff like them. So there's this quote of attackers think in graph, defenders think in list from John Lambert. And that's basically the motto behind Bloodhound, and this trying to understand the relationship between objects more than a list of assets I have to protect. But how are they connected to each other? How does an attacker move from one to another? And that's the attack path. So that's what we work with.
Rumors say that Mimikatz alone, just this tool, has done more to Windows security than any other work on Windows itself within the last 10 years. Would you?
I tend to believe so, but then other people would say Mimikatz has done more harm, has harmed so many industries because it's been used by the attacker. To this, I would say the attacker will choose an available tool if it is available. Now, I believe that if Mimikatz didn't exist, the knowledge of what Mimikatz does is out there, and attackers will use another tools than Mimikatz to achieve the same thing, their own homegrown tool. So,
we should mention for those who might have heard the name, do not really know what it is. The main thing about Mimikatz to me is that Benjamin said, the only reason why I created that is that I want to learn how that security works within Windows. So I started to try out. Everything is open source. You can get the source code. And what it basically does, it touches everything and waits until the walls come down. And so you can do things like pass the hash attacks and something like that. And really Microsoft has to improve these things, these vulnerabilities, if they are vulnerabilities. Some things can't be changed because they're done by design intentionally. So we as customers, for example, have to remove local admin rights. So because that can't be changed in another way.
That's the basic hygiene. But to the defense that if an attacker is already on your box running Mimikatz, there's already been a few steps before, and he's already here with sufficient rights to run Mimikatz, then probably there's been some steps before we could have alerted on. So Mimikatz is not the one tool that would do it all. You have to be in the position to use Mimikatz. And once you're there, the credentials are in memory, you will drop them and game over. Let's put it that way. Or at least game over for the next round where you now can impersonate that user and move on to the next hop on the graph and continue like this identity shuffle type of move. So, yeah.
There are many people, young people, who really like that security thing. But I think sometimes they're not aware that if you really deep dive, there's a lot of mathematics, a lot of stuff that might be very boring. And it's not James Bond, right? Do you have recommendations for young people? What's a good starting point? We will talk about your career in a minute that will reflect that maybe, but what is a good starting point? Where should I start, invest in myself if I'm interested in that stuff?
I'm not sure I have an official way of doing that. I have no academic background, so I started in my own way. But I would think if you're interested in the field, there is a need for practitioners. We lack people everywhere in IT, but also in security. So getting involved with the community, interacting with people is what I think got me in this.
Learning programming languages never hurts.
Yes, of course. So me was PowerShell, and I started with then the PowerShell Empire and all that thing. Any language is good. I think me, because I work with in Windows environment, PowerShell is the language of choice. Plus, I'll be honest, I love it, so I'm happy I get to work with it.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that love. It's interesting that you can find a lot of criticism that PowerShell is somehow stuck, because we all have expectation that the company Microsoft embraces everything a little bit more. Anyone wants the integration of newer versions in Windows. That is a problem that can hardly be solved. All these little things that make PowerShell not so popular in the wide, if you observe what people use generally, and make Python very popular.
Yes.
And then you start thinking about what makes PowerShell so special, despite the fact that it's not so popular. We love it. Can you explain what addicts you to PowerShell? Why is that so special for you?
I will try, but then you can also watch the talks when
we should.
and releases them, because one of my talks was about what do I think makes PowerShell special. And I think for me, it just lowers the bar to achieving powerful result. When I'm at the keyboard and I start typing, I'm a bad typist, but when I hit enter and I do stuff at scale against 10, 20, and comes back and you have object, it works. It's fantastic on Windows. Every other component, or they come with their own commandlets, or they have an API, you can interact with it. So at the end of the day, PowerShell is just my go-to language to glue everything together. And I think it's the easiest. If I write a script in Python and send that to an admin and say, run this in your environment, there's already a few steps he has to do to get there, right? Maybe Python is not installed, maybe so. Whereas PowerShell, for the regular admin, it's immediately available, and it empowers you to talk to anything, basically. On-prem, from a Raspberry Pi to a data center, from anything. So my luck, I think, is that I picked up PowerShell and I understood the logic of it, or the functioning of the framework. And once you get that, nothing, even a topic you never touched, becomes accessible. Also with self-discovery from the commandlets. Mm-hmm. So for me, it works. For me, PowerShell is my Lego box, my Lego bricks, And
Legowski, Lego, there we again, yeah.
Python is normal blocks, boring blocks. For me, PowerShell is the block with that little bit on top that you can start to clip them together. I don't know.
We talked about becoming a celebrity somehow, and when you met all the people before, Jeffrey Snow, Bruce Priet, all the guys running around here. Are you a fanboy? Are you a groupie of these guys also?
I'm the number one fanboy, so I keep making memes about Jeffrey Snow. I miss him, actually. I wish he was here. I think he's been, just look at the people here at this conference, that you managed to create this dynamic, give this level of doability and happiness in doing it to the people, and empower them to create their own tools and to share with the community, and the emulation is big. Maybe it's that big on the Python side, I don't know, but for me, what I found in the PowerShell community is more than just coding and functionality. There is a kind of a spirit, maybe because we're also looked at by other people, so we kind of share that passion for a tool. Mm-hmm. And we understand, right, that when I say I feel the power, I know you understand what it means. Like, whoa, this is powerful. So
definitely, yeah. To summarize and finalize this, and we really appreciate that you take your time here. Is it possible to say there are 3 things that always people doing wrong and enterprises doing wrong? Do you have a recommendation? What should we observe before you invite a pen tester doing Bloodhound, what is the first and the second, the third thing that people doing wrong that people should enable, disable, change the configuration of the Windows environment?
So every environment will be different. It's complex to answer that, but I think the one thing that we maybe see less now, but that was very common, is the local admin password push via GPO, the same on all the machines. So this is a kind of a win that if I find local admin on this machine, if I'm local admin on all the machine, I'm domain admin, basically. So basic hygiene, and then probably if you say, okay, before bringing a team to use Bloodhound, I say Bloodhound is free. Before you pay a red team to come and
use it your own, good tip.
You use Bloodhound and remediate the low-hanging fruit, at least, the easy ones, and then use that red team to come and show you that they can abuse a path that you already knew existed because you saw it in Bloodhound, and help you, okay, how can I implement the fixes? Because my opinion is that the red team should not be here to kind of give you a bad day, but be here to give you understanding of, hey, we did this, you missed it, this is how you detect us. So for me, the red team, the most important bit is probably the debriefing after, and not necessarily what the red team does. For me, they're really the sparring partner of the blue, and the center of the picture should be blue, and the red is their partner for taking punches at practice, basically. So I think we should focus or put the praises on the side of blue, and very often for now the red team are seen as the cool kids, or so. And then 3, I would say, I don't know, go to conferences, meet people, stay aware of because it's an ever-changing
interconnection,
and like it can be daunting because the technology evolves quicker than we can digest it as a single human. So work in teams, trust the people around you, collaborate. And this is something that I find super nice in the security industry, that even though we could be seen as competitors between different shops, but we do put everything out, we share. And companies talk about other companies' work, and so it's very different than having this kind of, I'm trying to sell my product. Here we're sharing awareness, and I really like that. So if you're new and you want to get into cyber, just approach some people and
get in touch and keep it running.
Get in touch with the community, come to conferences. I think this is how I got into it. So
yeah. Walter, thank you. I hope this will go on forever. Merci. And hope we see us next year. And I fingers crossed that PowerShell improves and will still be that tool that we all love, and that things mature and evolve.
I believe so. Because now that we have the basic building instruction, it's also our role as a community to build the tools we need, to share them, to make them available. And I think this conference is a great example of that. So, yeah.
And as he said, links below. Have a look at the talks.
Yes.
Right. And thank you. So much pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.